Hello, everyone. Brady, Charlie, Garrett here. We're talking some hashtag BB All Stars. So, apologies for the crazy hair. See, Garrett and Charlie, they got to figure it out. Wear hats on the podcast if you got some crazy hair going on. But it's all right. I'm gonna let it rock. So,
hey, let it roll, brother.
Yeah. So let's hop straight into the episode tonight. Now, keep in mind, if you are West Coast and you're clicking on this and you're waiting for the live, well, I guess it's live for everyone, right? The live episode goes live for everyone, so we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, you just have to use your VPN. So if CBS asks, you live in Philadelphia.
Well. So I'm saying, if you live on the West Coast, do you actually have to wait till 8:00 your time?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, most people right. You just use a VPN at this point, or they go to Video Brother.
We're like, what's that service that they offer that? Like the not what it's called, when you can region locking stuff, that kind of stuff.
We pay for everything here, and nothing is illegal. All right, so I haven't watched the episode yet. Just want to say what's up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you haven't seen the results and you really want to see it, especially with who won HOH, make sure that you kind of click off and then come back. There's nothing wrong with that. Hello, Ton. Hello, Flames. And so, let's get started. So let's kind of backtrack. We'll talk about HOH after, but let's talk about the eviction first. So it was between David and Nicole A. And Nicole A ended up going home. If you watched live feeds during the week, hello, Icy, by the way. If you watched any of the live feeds or even just get the updates on Twitter, I personally like the BB _ updates on Twitter. I don't know which one you guys follow, but that's the one I like because they just
that's the best one.
They don't really post opinions. They just post literal quotes from people.
Just conversation bits.
They let the thread go, which I like. So because there's no way to take anything out of context, which I really like. So this week, Nicole was definitely campaigning harder than David, which in reality kind of turned around to bite her in the ass a little bit. It was weird because it's an all-star house and people are threatened by people that could be seen as a threat. So the reason why David and Nicole went up at first were because Memphis figured they were easy people to put up and they'd be easy targets to send home. I took the bullet here. She was on my team. But it turned out that the house kind of said, man, look how hard Nicole is playing. Meanwhile, David is like, I'm just friends with everybody. And we'll talk about David's lack of effort in the HOH competition, but that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But whatever, we'll talk about it. So the whole
week sports terms, I think it's safe to say he's been a bust.
Yeah, it's true. So the way that the votes went was Janelle and Kaser knew that they were on the outs. They're reading the game perfectly, and it's just – they're just playing on the wrong side. And sadly, there were a lot of alliances that were obviously made and really enemies that were made going into the house that ended up affecting this a lot. And for example, people that follow on Twitter on the live feed stuff will attest to the fact that there's a new term floating around, which is Janelacy, which is Janelle and jealous.
Even Oprah Magazine's publishing
Janelacy
articles.
Yeah, so this literally all stemmed. Nicole F, or no, is it Nicole A? Which one has the podcast? Nicole A, right?
Nicole A, yeah.
Yeah, Nicole A. Sorry, Funky Monkey. We're gonna calm you down, my man. We'll hang out with us. We'll calm you down. We'll talk through it. I don't want no rash decisions. Don't be eating a whole jar of peanut butter now. So
that's how I felt 5 minutes ago, Funky. I'm with you, bud.
Yeah, it's okay. We all felt that way. So Nicole basically was telling Nicole F that Janelle had declined going on her podcast. And Nicole F apparently didn't have very good Twitter, didn't have a good Twitter rapport with Janelle. They had some sort of beef in the past between.
Yeah, and it all goes back to Amazing Race with those two.
So there you go. So it's very deep-seated between Nicole F and Janelle. And Nicole A decided to confide in Nicole F all week, and Nicole F was telling Nicole A, who was on the block, hey, you don't want Janelle campaigning for you because the rest of the house doesn't like Janelle, and so you shouldn't be accepting Pacer and Janelle's help at all. So Nicole just felt completely lost, and as Emily was saying, Nicole didn't campaign until last night. Yeah, it's hard because she really wanted to play, but people know that this early in the game, if you play too hard all week, you're going to get sent home anyway. And so she needed more people to fight for her. And in all reality, Nicole F., in trying to be a good friend in the way that she thought she was being, really sunk Nicole A., because she basically just made her give up, thinking, oh, Janelle and Kaser are the only people that are saying they're going to fight for you, and they're probably lying about it, is what Nicole F. was feeding Nicole A. all week. And when Nicole went home and she was talking to Julie, and we saw Kaser's very heartfelt leaving speech, whatever they call
goodbye.
it. Yeah, goodbye. She felt really bad, and she started to cry, and Julie wanted to hug her, but she couldn't because COVID. And Nicole said, I have 1,000, I think her quote was, I have 1,000 apologies that I need to give Janelle and Kaser, because it turns out they really were fighting for me all week. And if Nicole F. wasn't, that was the only person in the house that Nicole A. shouldn't have confided in, and it ended up being her demise. So, and there were other reasons. We can say what we want about Davon saying that she was gonna give her vote. She refused to vote against another person of her color. What did she say? A person that looks like me in the house, and she made that pact with herself, not an alliance. She's not in an alliance with David. She just told herself that since there hadn't been a winner, a black winner ever, that she did not want to vote against anyone. And so I respect it. You can say that you don't respect it as a game move. However, I guess that's her choice. Mm-hmm. But Garrett, watching this, were you as angry as a lot of people were, considering Nicole A. definitely wants to play the game more than David does? And that's objective.
Muted, sorry. Anyway, what I was saying, I coughed anyway. That was great. So I didn't end up coughing in the mic. But yeah, so anyway, no, what was fascinating to me was I thought that going into this season, that the fact that what happened to David last season, the way that it did, and all the things that went against him even having a shot, that there was no way he was not going to play the heck out of this game as soon as he got in, So for me, that's the most disappointing part of all of this, is like, okay, everything else is just game. Sometimes you lose the game. That's what happened to Nicole this week. She just got on the wrong end of some stuff, but and specifically, I think made some mistakes in terms of the way she went about doing some things, which we can get into more, obviously. But, the truth is, I just really wanted to see a really exciting game this year. And so far, we have not gotten that. So.
Oh, yeah. And Nicole, she really had a rough week in terms of she lost a lot of fans, too, because she went on a bashing campaign and a smear campaign and kind of. Yeah. So there's even people I follow that they put in their like bios. They're like, oh yeah, we're Nicole's biggest fan. I saw that they took that out this week. Like, they're like, this is not the person that I loved last season, that I related to. And she just had a really, really ugly game. And I mean, it was tough to watch. And then here, these pregame alliances have absolutely destroyed some people. Keisha, I mean, she had no chance.
Yeah, these older people, and it's literally because they're older. People that are in their 40s generally just aren't on social media as much as people in their 20s. And all these younger people have all been friends on Twitter and Instagram and all the social media stuff from past seasons. And they all knew each other. And whether you want to say that they had pre-planned alliances, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but they at least had pre-formed relationships that the older cast members only had with each other. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're in a tough spot now because that mob mentality that we all hated so much from Big Brother 19 and that was adapted last year for a couple weeks. We hated that so much, and we saw it grooming again this week. And the mob mentality was going towards Janelle in the terms of Janelacy, like we saw. I'm glad the edit tonight showed that a little bit. But every single person in that house, except for Kaser, had said pretty rough things about Janelle this week. Mm-hmm. And when we watched Big Brother 19, we said this over and over, what they would do to Cody and Jess, and it was brutal to watch. But Paul would continue each week finding someone new to do that to. And I'm just, as Funky Monkey is kind of pointing out, they're targeting the two oldest people in the house, and they can't think for 1 second, maybe if, 14 people left? Maybe if 12 of us are targeting 2 people, maybe we should see if that's a problem. But everyone just wants to get to the next week, and no one wants to actually stand up and play an interesting Big Brother game.
And I know that Kaser and Janelle were good at competitions. I mean, Janelle was a comp beast back in the last seasons that she was playing. But Janelle is not a comp beast compared to these young guns anymore. She's just not. She's not a threat physically, and really neither is Kaser. So there's nothing to be threatened by. And just because they're older doesn't mean that they're better mentally. Tyler's playing the best game right now. And he, as we're going to talk about in a little bit, he's HOH now, which I think is going to be more interesting than what we think. I will say that. So this beginning of the season kind of reminds me, if people are in here and they're Survivor fans, some seasons of Survivor feel like this, where they used to always have 2 tribes. Now they've gone to a lot of like 3 tribe formats. But when it's 2 tribes and there's one tribe that wins the first 4, 5 challenges, and it's one tribe, the other tribe going to tribal council over and over and over again. Basically, CBS has to step in and mix up the tribes and force the other tribe to break up. And in Big Brother, you don't have that. There's not really a way to force people into switching sides. Mm-mm. The only time I can really think of that is when we had what was it called? Was it called Team America with Donnie and Derek and Frankie? Was that? Yeah. When we had that, where we had 3 people that weren't really playing together, but America forced them to play together, and it made Frankie and Derek a lot closer. Not so much Donnie, but it made at least Derek and Frankie work together, and we saw a lot of strategery come from that.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, Veracity.
Yeah, hello, Veracity. One of the OGs.
Has a lot been happening. Yeah, to an extent, but it's kind of hard to watch lately, if we're being honest. Kaser and Janelle are trying. The 2 actual like legends, if you will, they're actually trying. Yeah,
this is gonna be. This is gonna be.
The pregame alliance has killed them.
This is gonna be one of those seasons where they're gonna pick people off one by one, but when it's an alliance basically of 10 left, then it's gonna get good because we already see the seeds being planted. Right? We see Charlie and I were talking about it. It's gonna come down to 2 people, Tyler and Cody. Which one of those 2 is gonna actually flip on each other first? Because those 2 are very strong players, and they have a lot of people supporting them. We know Tyler doesn't want to rock the boat with really anyone. And the only people, I mean, he's got final 2s with everyone in the game other than Janelle and Kaser. So he's probably going to put those 2 up at the beginning. But
easily.
But Tyler's such a good game player, and he's got such good vision for long term. Would I put it past Tyler to put the 2 of them up and then cut a deal with both of them to work with him if he finds a way to get him off the block and backdoor someone like a Nicole F? Right?
I mean, hey, anything's possible, but
it could definitely happen.
I think Tyler's he's a little too smart that he knows with 14 there's still it's a little too early.
Yeah.
So this is an easy HOH for him in his eyes. Those 2 go up, and they've already been Cody's already started the Davon bashing, as we saw last night. So Davon's next.
It was a live fume. So Garrett, Veracity says, I can only hope that Memphis continues to rub Tyler the wrong way and Tyler puts Memphis up. Memphis has been rubbing a lot of people in the house the wrong way. And we can see it even on edits when CBS tries to put everyone in a favorable light at the beginning because they don't know who's going to go far. CBS loves to put everyone in a favorable light because they don't want it to be, oh, we're going to paint these 4 people as villains and then all of them make it to the season and we all hate them. They don't like to do that early on in the season. So they've been trying to give Memphis some favorable edits, but at the same time, like his nomination speeches being, Nicole went home literally because she didn't want to swipe her card because she didn't want to waste it and just let Memphis cruise to another week of safety. So do you think Memphis gets a little too big-headed and it bites him in the butt within the next couple weeks?
I think it's a real possibility. I don't want to say for sure because obviously, anybody that's an all-star is going to have the opportunity to save themselves, right? There's plenty of people to play a game with still. He say this alliance falls apart. It's not like he couldn't form another one, right? It would be a little more difficult because people would know because this thing just blew up, and everyone knows about it now. But, either way, it's not like it's impossible. It happened a couple of times last year, alliances shifting and stuff like that. But I think it was a really, really, really bad move not to use the veto. I mean, I think that is going to cement how Tyler looks at him for the rest of the season.
Oh, definitely.
And probably several of the rest of the people in that alliance as well, because they all sounded unhappy about his decision, So yeah, it really depends,
If there's anything good about younger people, just in general younger people care what America will think about them a lot more than the older people. Janelle and Kaser don't care. Tyler might have it in the back of his mind of, dang, there's no way Tyler doesn't know that America is probably rooting for Kaser and Janelle. He knows that America likes them. I mean, some of the house still thinks that Janelle is like the most hated person, which is weird. But let's talk about the HOH a little bit. So Funky Monkey said it just made it worse that Ian was winning, and he said he wouldn't put the 2 targets up. Yeah, we were all hoping that Ian was going to hold on to that, right?
Ian, Kevin, Janelle, and Kaser were the only ones that might have made it a little interesting this week. Well, Janelle and Kaser definitely, but Ian wants to work with Kaser so badly, but as you guys know, he's got his let's just call it a crush. I mean, he's got like a crush on Nicole F and just can't let it go.
It is weird though, because he's like engaged or whatever.
Yeah.
Platypus, Project Platypus, fantastic name. Nicole A got evicted, and Tyler won HOH. Now, a couple things that really kind of irked me. I don't know why, but I become slightly enraged. Not like full on, punch stuff rage, but slightly enraged every single time Christmas is on my screen as an all-star. That, say what you want about David. I get them putting him on there as a redemption story because he looked so promising in his season. Christmas is the only one that I don't understand why she's on there, because she didn't show any promise. She made it far, but everyone agreed that she made it far because of other people. She literally couldn't participate in a lot of the competitions. So the fact that
Josh were like Paul's lapdogs.
Just every person that I see go out the door before Christmas this year, it's going to bother me a little bit. It really is.
She's going to go deep, man.
But she's going to go deep. We're going to see Janelle and Kaser and Nicole F, and then probably, maybe Tyler if people find out, and Cody. We're going to see all these people, great players, go before Christmas. And if she makes it to a Final Four, it's going to really kind of irk me.
I think your Final Four, and I'm not even kidding you, you're going to have Nicole F, Enzo, Christmas, and David. There you go. Enjoy it.
Interesting. I mean, we're in that time right now where people who are outside of the main alliance that make it through the next 3 weeks are going to be in prime position to win the game.
Got a little update on our board here.
Yeah, so, Team Brady took a hit this week. I really had some faith in Nicole A. And, I had both Nicole A and David, so I knew I was taking one for the team here this week going into the live eviction. Garrett's team still looking strong. Viewers' team looking strong-ish. I mean, not bad. I mean, Janelle is definitely going to be close. It's interesting because Janelle and Kaser are definitely the 2 front runners to go home this week. So the odds would say that Garrett and viewers are on the block. Yeah,
we're having an odds evening moment. With double eviction, we're all evenly one out. No, I'm just kidding.
You just wanted Christmas for the sleigh bells. That irks me even more, Veracity, because you're right. When she did the whole cheering and they were like sleigh bells, it was so annoying. Nicole was ignoring this season.
Nicole had a really rough week.
Something else that irked me about tonight's HOH competition. Did David even try?
Oh, God.
The way that he threw, okay, for those that haven't seen it yet and you're waiting for West Coast, but you don't mind, getting spoilers and stuff. The competition was sliding beer mugs, but it wasn't actual beer, just plastic mugs. You had to throw them down this board. It was basically shuffleboard with beer. And
yeah.
It went, the one space was really big, and then 2 was smaller, then 3, 4, 5. And each of the boards got a little longer, and the spaces got a little more enclosed at the end, so it became harder as it went. David literally walked up, and, you got to put some force behind it. So people usually gave a little bit of a lean into it. David literally went up and went, and then went to the second one and went. All 3 of them got in either 1 or 2 points, and he wasn't like the first one to go. David knew that scoring 1 and 2 points on his throws was not going to get it done. He basically went up there, chucked them all up there, and sat down. And what's annoying is that I think that was strategic in his mind because he doesn't want to seem strong because he doesn't want to seem to be a target. But if you win HOH, you're safe. That is the only way to guarantee yourself complete safety for the entire week. Unless you're going to swipe your card, which does he have a swipe?
Yeah, no, he already used it.
They burned it this week, so I don't know what that was about.
This is dumb. This is dumb. So Memphis would not go home over Janelle or Kaser. Yeah, it's true. If Janelle and Kaser both go on the block, if Tyler puts Janelle and Kaser up, one of them is going home. There's no doubt about it.
Easily. Yeah.
So the only way that they'd survive is if Tyler cuts a deal to not put one of them up in the initial nomination. It's the only way. Funky Monkey. Okay, we are not at the point yet in the season where we're desperate and we're going to talk about old seasons. Charlie and I were talking about this earlier on Xbox. We were saying we hit a point a couple years ago where we were talking about favorite cereals. We told people
I hated
to rank so much. To rank their top 3 cereals while we were watching an HOH comp because we hated the season so much. We can't do that yet, okay?
There's still some hope, but it's not looking good. This is why we all just need to admit to ourselves we're rooting for Tyler so there's no stress. Everyone tell yourself you're rooting for Tyler.
Yeah, so Fume said, I got annoyed Nicole A speech shouting out her podcast, and then after getting evicted, you're all going to be on my podcast. I don't mind shouting out the podcast. However, you just can't you can't make it seem like that is your biggest motivation for being in the game. And when people repeat stuff over and over again, it gets a little annoying. That's why people have had they hate Nicole F right now on Twitter. She's the most hated person in the house right now because all she does is talk about Janelle and how much she hates Janelle. So.
Yeah, literally, I just saw like those live feed updates like we were talking about. They're rolling in, and she was already talking bad about Janelle Ducote. Like it just picked right back up.
Yep, instantly. Fume said, I remember that. Matt was my... No one should ever be allowed to say Matt was my favorite player.
He wasn't even a player.
Was he in the house?
God, man. Raven. Oh, I hated that too.
Matt and Raven, dream couple. They still together? Actually, I mean, she's got an inverted spine. Is she okay? Has anyone checked on her?
She's too busy making TikTok dances.
Stop it. Remember people found her dance videos like halfway through the season? Okay, anyway. So
I blame Christmas.
Says, I don't understand everyone trusting Tyler. Can someone explain it to me? I thought he would be the biggest target. Here's the thing.
They're too stupid.
Being too stupid. Garrett, there's got to be something to say for someone just being a charismatic, likable person and then people confusing personality with game. Yes, because Tyler is very approachable and he's a good listener and he always will listen to everybody. And even if he says nothing, people can just vent to him. He gets all of the information and then they walk away thinking that he's got their back, and he didn't even have to say that he has their back. Meanwhile, he can go to everyone else and tell them that information, or he can save it and use it against them later.
Yeah. It's the great part of his social game is that it's not because obviously he's got the physical aspects you can tell when you look at him, but like it comes down to you got to have both to win against all-stars, and he knows this, and that's why think about it. If you wanted to come up with the best strategy to win this game, what would you? You come up with the best social game you can that no one's ever going to suspect that you're going against them or just trying to get information out of them, and then win competition so that you can secure yourself from being targeted. So it's like he's got it all figured out. Obviously, now all he has to do is just avoid stepping on the wrong toes because it could flip on him like that. Because if he decides to take this position of I'm going to take a stand, or even if he doesn't, it's going to determine a lot of who's going after him going forward, So who knows? This week's going to be really consequential for his game, massively,
Agreed. Now, Charlie, I have to ask the question. Is this season actually this bad, or did we hype it up so much in our minds that it's just a normal season? We're just disappointed because we expected so much more.
I mean, I think the best way to relate it is we've seen a good season recently. Big Brother 20 was a good season. Big Brother 21, horrible. It had some good gameplay. Yes, 8 weeks in when everyone already stopped caring. It's not horrible yet. There's really good gameplay going on now. However, look, that alliance has already won 3 HOHs in a row, right? They've won every veto. I mean, it's looking a
It
little
makes
scary.
it makes everything seem futile. It definitely does.
Like, we can literally, it's going to be Kaser this week, Janelle next week, Davon the next week. And just like that, we're in jury. And, that entire side of the house, then they finally start playing? It's just, it's a tough trend.
So Garrett, Bucks fan says, with taped evictions all season, we may not get an HOH on feeds. I'd be sad about that, would you? Or do you think it's good to kind of give Sunday or give you a reason to watch Sunday? Because it definitely does.
Well, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think it's definitely good for them to incentivize and want to actually watch, the episode that everyone kind of considers like important stuff happens on this day, but you can just get the update from it and pretty much know what happened, versus like obviously like an eviction, you want to be there for that. Yeah, I think that's a very good possibility that because of that having to be taped, that we just don't get one because, you know what I mean? Like, just because they don't want to have to put extra people at risk, production people, you know what I mean? Like, not that there's people in the house.
Yeah.
They're
literally sleeping in an RV.
They don't want to tank the season by bringing in somebody from one of these crews, you know what I mean? It's alternating on and off, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's just a risk, to try and work a live production during this. It already all went to crap the first night. You know what I mean? Like, so it might have been like the test, to see if they can do it. Who knows?
Stool. Yeah, I will say, it's not bad yet. We're having really good gameplay for early on. Absolutely. But Big Brother 19 we did too. And I think that's what everyone should be, why everyone's getting a little worried. Because it's looking like, hey, we root for Tyler, so we're not going to stress out.
We have a lot of people playing for the long game, which is what you have to do to win, but it sucks for week-to-week television because we have so many people that have set themselves up beautifully to be there at the end, which means they just chose to cut out about 6 people early on and just vote those 6 people out, and it's real easy to get to the end. And it sucks for us because it's good strategy to win, and they're all-stars, and they understand that. Like we said, Tyler is probably just too smart to go after anyone other than Janelle and Kaser this week because he understands this is what you have to do to win the game. It just sucks for television.
And you know what? At least Tyler and Enzo are kind of likable. So the fact that they're in the majority and playing so well, at least, in 3-4 weeks from the game actually starts to get going, we'll have someone to root for. Hopefully they're on the same side.
Fume said, do you think this season would have been different with Josh and Casey? Well, the last two people added were who? Was it Memphis and
Memphis and Keisha were the alternates.
Keisha were the last 2.
If Josh was on this season, I would not be watching right now.
You think that bad?
And Casey, dude, do you guys remember how boring Casey was until week 8?
Josh would be groveling at Cody's feet right now. They
would be in that majority.
Oh, Cody, you're the best, bro.
They would be in that majority, and Josh would be taking his spot, and then Kevin probably would have been home week 1, and Casey or Keisha, since that's whose spot was taken. But hey, they were up partying in Miami and got COVID, so their fault for not wanting to be 2-time winners.
Do we put any stock, Garrett, into the fact? I personally was happy to see that Kevin literally came in and he knew that Nicole was going home, and he said till the end, I'm not changing my vote. I don't care about voting with the house, even though Janelle and Kaser did. Kevin was like, to the end, I'm voting David out, even though I know he's not going home. I respect that, and that's cool and all, but Garrett, do you put any stock in the fact that Enzo threw in a vote? Is that a well-timed trying to throw people off? Or do you think he just did it because he wanted to be nice and he likes Nicole?
I think it could be. I think Enzo can try and be a nice guy. So it could be that. It could be as simple as that. It also could be as complicated as he wanted. If he thought maybe it was going to be a landslide, which it was, but like a full-on just no other votes, and he was just going to sow a little bit out. That's kind of where my head went, because he just kind of came in, gave his vote. He didn't give any explanation for it. He just was like, boom, this is the, like he was like, this is what I'm doing. And it made me wonder if it was something like what Jackson did last season, where he put in that one vote just to make people go, well, who was this that just decided to go against us? But then it ended up being 2. So, because it's not a risky move. It's risky because if they find out it was you, obviously. But if no one knows it's you, Great. If somebody else votes the same way, great. Now they don't know who either of the two people are. So it's like,
Right. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps that vote a secret or not, if he uses it as
it could be leverage.
Yeah. Charlie, is there anyone that you'd rather have as your cool uncle at a barbecue than Enzo?
Absolutely not. Gigi mentioned did it for both. I agree. I think there's partially both in there. I think it's dependent on Davon based off last night's feeds.
Bucks fan said when Janelle and Kaser were first on BB, Tyler was 10. Like I said, I mean, there's a serious disconnect in the age gap. And when 90% of the season is from 3 to 4 years ago, and then the other 10% is older than that, the 10% is going to get cut out. Keisha had no chance. Kaser and Janelle pretty soon are going to have no chance. Nicole A was just an oddball week, and that's just what it's going to be. Luckily, I think Enzo and Memphis – I mean, Memphis is always going to have that bro mentality, and him and Cody have their little thing going on. But I think Enzo is just cool with the young folk. They're cool.
Oh, see, Enzo's going to know when it's time, and I hope he takes Tyler's side and not Cody's.
Enzo's going to have to win a clutch HOH or veto sometime in about 3 or 4 weeks. Enzo might be the default, put him on the chopping block, and he's going to have to pull out an HOH to turn the tide to get people on his team.
Let's just hope it doesn't go like Janelle, Case, or Ian. That'd be tough if we lost those 3 back-to-back.
Yeah.
Because Ian, I mean, hey, we haven't talked about him that much, but I think we can all agree. We all like Ian. And
yep, I like Ian.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a likable guy. And
really
you almost kind of feel bad for him because Nicole is totally using him. But he can't see it. He wants to see it, but he just can't.
Ian can't play hard right now. Anyone that is on the outskirts, if they attempt to play hard right now, they're going to go home. I'm waiting for
sure, because the only way to keep yourself from going home is to play hard a lot of times. You know what I mean? It is the weirdest thing ever.
And this is the only season she hasn't so far, so it might happen, Fume.
All right, Charlie, who's it going to be?
Isn't everybody pretty much married or in a relationship in this season?
I love Ian.
Maybe it's Ian. No, just kidding. He's got
dude, it's gonna be Enzo, bro.
Stop it. Stop it.
No, Enzo, please.
He's got
watch
kids.
It Cody, bro. Watch it. Hey,
Stop.
Man.
No. Cody is in a loving relationship, and I respect the holy matrimony.
Hey, Cody said the other night he's into feet, so good for him.
All right. We need to cut this podcast off. We're getting weird. Over 32
where we're at, guys.
Hit us up on Twitter at Visokii Tweets. We may go live. I've been saying for the past couple weeks, we'll go live if interesting stuff happens on the feeds. But in all honesty, if you're following on Twitter, there hasn't been some bombshell thing that happens. If there's a big fight or the house flips and there's a giant, something that happens, then we'll do it. But it seems like we might have another status quo week. And guys, it's okay. Funky Monkey, you will get through this. Put the tequila down.
Yeah, all right? Come on, man. Help us out.
This. It's okay. All right, we're gonna get through this, and eventually, they're gonna have to eat themselves. You know why everyone is shouting at Tennessee? That's Danny's
daughter. It's her birthday
daughter,
as well.
and it's her birthday. So yeah, y'all crazy. Hey man, I'm only 4 days into my teaching this week, and it's already like the most stressful year of all time.
He's turned into a madman.
It's bad. Look at the hair. All right. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe. Click the little bell so you know when we go live. And until next time, guys, see ya.